that time she was separating from my father and coming from the Philippines, and so I said, I'm not gonna embark on this business if I was not with you. So I'll tell you more about that story later. And I also want to introduce my daughter. She's 23 years old and your future owner of 7 Mile House. She wants to take over someday, hopefully in 6 years. So I can retire with my new husband, Mario, back there. Brand new husband. New and improved.
I'm so young.
Okay, got lots of coffee today. So it is my privilege to own this beautiful landmark, the 7 Mile House, which was established in 1858. We are 165 years old today, and I just want to thank Oil of Valet for after 165 years. Anyways, I want to let you know about this photo, which is actually station number 2 at your self-guided tour. It's the second photo from the left to the right side of the maroon jersey. That was actually the only photo in this building that indicated that this place was historic. And along with the building and rumors that this place was old. And so I've always wondered about this picture and the stories behind it. So when I bought this place, it was always my dream to do some research and perhaps write a book. And in fact, when I did take over, I did tell all the customers that were here on the last day of the former owner that I was going to write a book. And so here we are, 2018, I wrote a book. Today it's now on Amazon Kindle. I think it's very important that we memorialize this information because when I took over, nobody knew what 7 Mile House was. I mean, now people say, oh yeah, it's a great spot, or it's in a great area. Not when I took over. 7 Mile what is what people usually say. And so it was just really important for me not to just promote the restaurant because it's my business, but because it's part of our history here in the Bay Area. And it's even more important now because there are so many historic establishments that have closed because of COVID. I'm sure you can think of at least 1 or 2 that you're really sad about, that you really wish. Feel free to sit anywhere here. Don't worry, I won't pick on you. I'm not a comedian. Maybe I am. So please do support those restaurants, bars, establishments that are old because you never know how long we're all gonna be here for. And that's why I'm securing my future with my daughter. So, does anybody know what a mile house is?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the stagecoach from the ferry building. They did it in increments.
Yes, that's right.
3 Mile House, the 5 Mile House, the 7 Mile House.
That's right. Yeah! You want free mimosa. So, yes, mile houses during the gold rush were established from Portsmouth Square. I used to say ferry building actually, so that was my fault. But when I wrote the book, I realized that that the first mile zero, I guess, was Portsmouth Square. Portsmouth Square was the center of commerce in San Francisco. It was, where everyone gathered. And so that was mile zero. And at each mile from San Francisco to San Jose, there were mile houses. As you can see here, I found this map showing the mile houses from San Francisco to San Jose. Stagecoach stops were established because they were established as real exchange stops where they had to rest their horses, where they had to eat and give, drink, and feed their horses. So that was really important. They were saloons, they were restaurants, they were bars, hotels, and brothels. And guess what? 7 Mile was all of the above.
It still is.
Depends who you talk to.
Depends on what day it is.
Francisco to San Jose. Can you guys guess? You'll win a free mimosa. Guess how many hours it took to go from San Francisco to San Jose in a carriage? Too much. A little too long. Maybe that's for walking.
13. 10 hours. 7 hours.
Almost 9 hours. So that's what, like going to San Diego, right? So yeah. Oh, feel free to sit here. Don't worry, I won't pick on you. So 9 hours, and it also cost $600 to $900 to get there. Yes. So it was long and it was expensive. And guess what? It was also really uncomfortable. So picture this. You're in a stagecoach, right? Look at, well, you can't really see. Can you see? Oh, wait. Look at, imagine the road, that dirt road. It's dirt road, right? When it's raining like this, it's muddy. There's rocks, there's dirt, and you're riding in a stagecoach. You have a horse that you need, to give water to and feed, and your driver as well. So what? So at almost every mile, somebody has to stop and go, tinkle, get some water or whatnot. But it took a while, and that's why it took 9 hours to get to San Jose. And this is also why they needed mile houses at every stop, because they needed to stop. So, this here is a map that we created. It's actually part of Station 1 of the self-guided tour. But you'll see that it started from Portsmouth Square. We have 2 routes here. The yellow route is the original route. It went from San Francisco down to Old Mission Road to El Camino, and then down to San Jose. That's the original mile house. Now, if you can, as you can see, it says 7 Mile House there in 1853. That's actually the original 7 Mile House that was established, which I actually thought that was the year we were established. I got a little confused, but when I wrote the book, I corrected myself. So that was the original route. And then in 1858, 3 entrepreneurs said, there's a lot of traffic now because of all these 49ers, and we need another road, we need a direct route. And we found a possible direct route that is actually pretty scenic. And this is Bayshore Boulevard, that used to be called San Bruno Road. San Bruno Road actually used to be by the water. Darn, we should have been beachfront. That would have been nice, right? So this is all reclaimed land on the right side. But that 7 Mile House was established because they needed a shortcut from San Francisco to San Mateo. So these 3 entrepreneurs built this shortcut, but they needed money to build this shortcut. So, so they needed money, so they had to charge you a toll. So 7 Mile House actually started as a toll booth in this shortcut. It wasn't called 7 Mile House yet, but that structure was the toll booth. So that's how we started. Going back to this photo, my favorite photo, I wanted to tell you a story about how this was also instrumental in getting more information about our history. One day, this lady named Big Yusti sat at that end of the bar and saw that photo. And she said, and I was bartending back then, and she said, I know this photo. I have this photo at home. Wait a minute. This is our family. And then she looked around, and it turns out she was a genealogist, and she was actively researching about her family. And so it turned out that one of the owners in white, his name's Egidio Michelli, was her great-grand uncle. And so, fortunately for me, she gave me a lot of these pictures back then. And so that happened in 2006, and it was such a big blessing because I hadn't really started doing my research. I was just asking questions, out of everyone. There were people who told me that they used to throw money behind the bar and I should be rich by now. And that these pillars you know, those ones, they look like they're cut. They used to go down to the floor, but there was a lot of drunks, so they cut it down because the drunk people were, you know, bumping into them, you know, and the three mirrors over there, the left and the right used to be covered by paintings because men would bring their ladies and they would get into fights because the other men would look at their ladies and then the brawls would ensue. So these were the kinds of stories that I would uncover. But meeting Bea was just, you know, momentous for me because she told me so much about her family, about the what had happened during this era from 1903 to the 1940s. I'm really bad at memorizing things. 1917. So she told me that this was Egidio Michelli, her great-grand-uncle, that was her brother, his brother-in-law, and that they were running it as a saloon and a hotel, and they loved rolling cigars on the side, and that business boomed, and then later they went on to own cigar companies. Yeah, so, and interestingly enough, in this next photo, Palmiro Testa, the second owner, the brother-in-law, this is a photo of when he bought it. I don't know if you can see, but it says here on the left, it says, ladies sitting room. Interesting. So they said that business boomed so much, they had to put a ladies sitting room. So we were actually accepted into the establishment, but in a separate location. But with Palmiro Testa came the start of illegal activities of all the owners at 7 Mile, except me. That's right. By the way, if you have any comments or questions, just feel free to throw it out there. I love that. So Testa was actually the first one that we know of who did something illegal. He actually had housed some illegal gambling cards in the back, and he was actually caught doing that. His license was suspended. So that's the first incident. This picture here is the two owners that owned it after Testa. This is Sebastiano Nieri and Lawrence Frigoli. It was one time, I used to do talks in libraries because I was promoting the book and I really wanted to talk about our history. There was one time when this lady came up to me and she said, "I'm so happy I'm here." I go, "Thank you, I'm so happy you're here too." And then she goes, "Well, the reason why I went here is because I wanted to learn more about my family, because my family used to own 7 Mile House." I said, "What's your last name?" And she said, "My name is Maria Neri." And I said, "Wait, there's this one picture I really don't know anything about. Can you look at it, please? Because I think it's about that time." So I showed this picture to her, and she identified her father and her Uncle Larry. And so this is how I was getting all this information, right? And we were both just so excited. She told me that back in the day, you know, she was like 5 years old and scooping ice behind that bar. Nobody would even see her because she was so short and all that. But she gave me so many stories about her dad and her uncle. So that day was also momentous for me because I found out who these people were. So that was amazing. And so these guys also did something illegal. Of course. During Prohibition, actually. Sebastiano Nieri, her dad, was caught by federal prohibition agents for transporting a 200-gallon whiskey still and 220 gallons of alcohol. Yes, you know, you need your alcohol. And then in 1948, cops confiscated 4 illegal slot machines, and both owners denied ownership. But I don't know if you can see, the slot machines are over there. I see at least 2, so I don't know. Maybe they were renting it, they didn't own it. And then next one was Lenny Stuhler. He owned it from 1953 to 1965. And Lenny was the first person in San Mateo County to get an RUI.
Writing.
Correct. Writing under the influence. There actually was a news article about it, and that's how we know. So that's Lenny for you. He was also doing other illegal stuff, like come this way. You want to sit right here? Don't worry, I won't buy it. Sometimes, maybe for you. So Lenny also, I don't know if you guys remember, but back in the day, well, I guess like Denny's has it. You know those claw machines where you can get like toys and stuff? Well, back in the, you can stay here too, Loretta. Stay here. Oh, we're here. Back in the day, the claw machines were not for kids. The claw machines were in bars. And you can actually grab metal figurines. And if you grab a metal figurine, it corresponds to a dollar amount, which you can claim at the bar. So, yes. So that was one of his businesses. He owned this place and he had a lot of claw machines in many bars. But he actually took the most expensive figurine and chained it to the ground so that nobody would ever get the most expensive one and claim the biggest prize. So that's Lenny for you. Next illegal owner with an illegal activity is Camille Stuhler. She's the lady. She owned it. She's the wife of Lenny. She owned it from 1965 to 2004, and I bought this place from her. She owned it for 50 years. Wow. I'm only going on 19. So I can just imagine how much she's gone through. However, this area was actually bustling with activity. I'm sure they were doing fine. They were busy, right? It looks like you know something about what went on in the area. Do you know anything?
Well, PG&E was next door.
Yes.
I used to work for PG&E.
Do you know about the secret window to PG&E?
No.
So, I covered it up already, but there used to be a secret window in PG&E on that side, and the PG&E workers would buy their alcohol on the side. Yeah. So,
35 years I worked
you
there.
know, you're too young for that. But yeah, no. You want to sit right here? So that's PG&E. I lost my train of thought. Oh yes, so this place was bustling with activity. There were lots of truckers, and this place was industrial. You know, you have C-Scandy here, but it used to be like what? Cargill. There used to be Cargill, SE Reinhoff, Schlage Lock, and the Southern Pacific Railroad across the street. Across the street was like just full of train tracks, because this was where they serviced and maintained a lot of their rail cars. And it's also one of the reasons why it's really hard to build across the street, because of all of what they said was a lot of pollution in the ground. I also heard that if they couldn't throw away a rail car, they would bury it underground. Yeah. So you can just imagine how busy it was and how dirty it is underneath. But I'm sure when they start building, they'll clean it up. So this was basically a trucker bar, and it was just bustling with activity. Camille, she used to offer to cash checks here. And back in the day, that was the thing, you know, you couldn't go to the bank, you cash checks, especially if your shift was at, until 7 a.m. and you needed the money right away. So she would cash checks here. There's a little window on the left side of the bar, that's where people would go. So she was a really busy woman. But it was also a very dangerous area. She actually got beaten up and mugged here at 7 Mile. Because they were, stealing her money, and that's why we have a lot of bars here on our windows. But I thank Camille for doing that, because we really feel safe. We've never gotten broken into, thank God. I feel like this place is a fortress because of her. So that's good. She was a tough lady. She had, I believe, 3 or 4 husbands. And she liked to drink a lot. She didn't do anything illegal, but her son did. Her name, his name was Al Flynn. Al is the one right next to her. And he ran the largest illegal sports gambling syndicate west of the Mississippi. Right here. From a phone booth that was right there. If you have time to do the self-guided tour, I actually have some videos there that you can watch about this man, his boss. This is his boss. And this is from 60 Minutes. His boss was featured on 60 Minutes because he was Ron Cigar Sacco, the most successful bookmaker in American history. Back in the day, you would gamble by calling in your bets. Yeah. That's how it used to be. And he got really rich, so rich that he made $100 million a month, or at least $1 billion a year. Yes. And at that, the FBI raided 7 Mile House right here. They raided it and confiscated $150,000 in cash. But that's nothing, because that $150,000 is actually the money that Camille used to cash the checks. The real gambling money was actually at their home in Daly City, worth $2 million. So that one the FBI didn't take. So Cigar Sacco, look him up. It's actually a really interesting story. He paved the way to today's online gambling industry. So quite an important man. So this photo was taken on the last day of Al's ownership and the first day of mine. So that was in 2004, I think it was September. And Al passed away in 2009, but his stories, are still here. And he was treated like a godfather. Everyone saw him like that. I mean, he looks like a godfather. And it's just so many wonderful stories. And if ever you guys have any stories whatsoever about the past, I would love to hear that, because that is something that, I'd love to, put in another book perhaps. We just need to make sure we collect all these wonderful stories. It's important for our community to be able to remember it and memorialize it. So I'm showing you this photo because, this place was packed on that day, but after that day, no more people. So they had this bartender who was really popular, and he started working in South City at the Topper, and everyone started to go there. And I'm like, okay, Mom, it's just me and you, literally. And so we started with no beautiful facade, no business, nobody knew about us. I had no experience whatsoever in the restaurant industry. And we were both immigrants, and we were like, let's just do this. So we were blessed with growing very, very, very slowly. And with that, I was kind of still working at my day job, but after a couple of months, I quit it because it didn't feel right to work there and have my mind really be about this, thinking about this. So I was fortunate enough to be able to meet this gentleman. His name's George Reyes. Has anybody ever been to the old Clam House? Yes. So George Reyes used to own the old Clam House in the 1980s. If you went in the 1980s, they were so popular, there was a line out the door. And everyone talked about the old Clam House. And the food, it was amazing. His chapinos, his pastas, there you go. So it's just really, really good. And fortunate enough for me, my client was her father, and she introduced him to us. And then she brought him here, and he looked around and he said, "Oh my gosh, this makes me feel like I'm in the old clam house again." And at that time, he was already retired. He had already sold the old clam house. So what he did was, he was a great chef. He was the one who put together our menu. See, when Mom was cooking in the kitchen, we had 5 things on the menu, but she quit after 2 weeks. So it was a big problem for me because I didn't have a cook. So I said, "Mom, okay, you can come serve, but we can only serve alcohol." But when Uncle George came, he saved us. He put together our first menu. That was our first takeout menu on the left side over there. And he got us, a wonderful American Italian menu that you would typically see in North Beach, which is actually the exact menu as his old clam house. And we were fortunate enough to get his recipes. Today, the old clam house is owned by the owners of Mona Lisa in North Beach. Wonderful people, great recipes. But our roots of our food really do come from George Reyes when it comes to American Italian food. He was Filipino, but that was his expertise. Now, Filipino food, that was because you guys saw us and you said, "You're Filipino, where's the Filipino food?" So, okay, so we were like, "Okay, Mom, we gotta do this." So one real quick story about our sisig. I wanted to bring sisig here so much I had to buy it from another restaurant, and I resold it here. That's for real. But now, of course, we got the best sisig now. Super authentic. You gotta do what you gotta do, right? So when I took over, we painted it, and it still looked bad. So. There was no sidewalk, no nothing, you wouldn't stop here, I didn't stop here. I only stopped here to buy it. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of sketchy, right? Yeah. But I tried my best. When we opened, my background was in, I used to be a musician in the Philippines, and I integrated live music in here. And my ex-husband was into sports, so we put a sports bar. And so we were basically doing everything so that everyone can come every day. So we would offer everything. And I like to do too much, so that's kind of like what I do. But we had not a lot of customers. We grew very, very slowly. We grew very, very slowly, but I am very thankful. Can you guys find Jose and Roxy, please? So I want to give a shout out to Jose. Come here, Jose. Jose likes giving lap dances to some customers. Anybody want one right now? If you see Jose, and where's Roxy? Roxy? There's Roxy. Roxy, can you come over, please?
That's before Facebook.
That's before Facebook? Before Facebook. Oh! I just want to thank these two. They've been with me for 19 years now. They are my brothers. Roxy started here, and she applied to be a janitor. And now she's our chef.
Thank you everybody for coming in celebration with Vanessa, and thank you for support this business. And I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Jose, you want to say anything?
I think I'm still the same.
Actually, Jose used to work at Old Clam House, right? And Subway. That's right. That's right, people. Yeah, we stole him, and we were fortunate enough to have him here at 7 Mile House. His age, by the way, is the same as our anniversary, minus 100. That's how we remember. But he looks like he's 25. So, all right. So I know it's kind of like 11:35, so I'll be quick. But these are the. I don't know if you guys remember how we used to look. These, you know, we really tried our best with what we had, as you can see. Tried painting, and then about like 8 or 9 years ago, City of Brisbane started paving our sidewalk, and we were just really fortunate enough to be able to have the sidewalk patio. So now this is what we look like, and now we are in an award-winning, family and dog-friendly restaurant. Yay. We've gone through a lot, and whenever you're here and you want more stories, please come ask for me. I love talking about this stuff, and I'd love to hear from you too if you have any stories. This is like, I love doing this. And, you know, it's just, I'm just so fortunate to be here and to be able to be the guardian of this place and be able to have that opportunity to talk to you all, because it's just, I mean, I never really thought I'd have an audience, because, I mean, it's just such a great place that nobody really knew about, and now more people know. And, you know, I just really appreciate you guys taking the time to be here. And I wanna let you guys know, or at least ask for you guys to, again, support those legacy businesses like us, those old businesses, whether that be a bookstore or a restaurant or a little store. You know, support them. You never know how long we're gonna last. And keep those memories in your heart, and you know, tell those stories. If you find the owner, tell them if you have any stories about that place. I'm sure they'll appreciate it very much. It's just so important to just keep talking about it. So with that, thank you so much. To go, though. It's at the very end of 7 Mile. My daughter is giving it away over there. We do ask that you sign up for our rewards. We have double rewards now, so for today, so please sign up because you're getting $20 every $100 you spend, so 20%. And we're also selling these t-shirts. And if you buy a shirt, you get a free cute mug. It's $1.65 shots all day. Only $2 per person. I want you guys to buy it all, but we also have to be responsible. I am married to the police commander of BNP. Someone's watching. And do the self-guided tour. You know, like, yeah, and we have a nice 165 cake, Rice Krispies cake later. But take pictures, please tag us, talk to me. I'd love to talk to you. Thank you for coming. Thank you.